Part 70. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 691. Fen Tianyan rushed into the air and returned disappointed. After the demon refining tower inhaled the blood baby, the demonic moon returned to its original height, and Zuyun found that the power of the demonic moon in his body also quickly receded. After a while, he was back to normal. Without the raging force of this strange demonic spirit, the power of chaos could still quickly repair the injuries caused previously. At the same time, the spiritual power in the water spirit beads and wood spirit beads also flows through the body together. This will keep me alive. Zuyun's eyes were bright and he looked down at the chaos sword in his hand. Thank you very much. Buzz. The chaos sword vibrated and hummed, indicating that it heard Zuyun's thank you, and seemed to be telling him that you're welcome, it's all your own decision. Zuyun smiled involuntarily, and then looked up at the demon refining tower. The bronze door has been closed. Is it Zhu Feng's fault that the demon refining tower inhaled the blood infant? Logically speaking, the demon refining tower cannot suppress human monks. In his opinion, Zhu Feng might want to take the opportunity to devour the cultivation and longevity of a nascent soul stage. But the question is, why didn't he absorb the golden rock at the bottom of the tower? After thinking about it carefully, he remembered the scene he saw when he woke up just now. Zhu Feng stood beside the tower at a loss, which shows he has no means to deal with the demon saint under the tower. But, does he have any means to deal with the blood babies? After thinking about it, Zuyun raised the chaos sword and danced it towards the bottom of the tower. Woo! A strong wind quickly blew in the demon moon forest. This is Zuyun's first time using chaos power to transform into wind spirit power. Countless years of dry years accumulated here were blown up by the boundless wind. Floating into the air, it actually covered up all the red light of the demon moon. Of course, this red light has also returned to normal and no longer has any attack effect. In other words, this red light is the original red light. As the dead leaves were flying, there seemed to be thousands of dead butterflies flying in the demon moon forest, which was really beautiful. Zuyun had no time to take care of the beautiful scenery, but looked straight at the bottom of the tower. The golden light has dimmed a lot. A golden rock bird with its head drooped. Only then did Zuyun realize that the demon refining tower seemed to have not shaken and vibrated for a long time. This shows that the demon refining tower has the upper hand. Are you a demon saint? Zuyun asked with mixed emotions on his face, somewhat contradictory. Demon saint. A Niao smiled miserably, with only a touch of sadness in those sharp eyes. You little human guy, do you even know about the demon saint? Zuyun had actually guessed on Niao's identity, but without asking, he always felt a little strange. Although Niao didn't admit it in person, his self-deprecating words were almost as good as admission. Moreover, Zuyun is very good at observing people's emotions. From these words, you can guess that Niao has no intention of revenge at all. Even before, he said you guys run quickly and smashed down the demon refining tower with all his strength, it was obviously to save Lao Jin and Lao Ma. Coupled with some words from Pavilion Master Zhang, Zuyun was already sure that most of the people in the East Sheng realm were not interested in the three realms of the human race. Lao Jin and Lao Ma, it was the Golden Dragon Demon King and the Thorn Horse Demon King who told me. After Zuyun finished speaking, without waiting for the surprised expression on Demon Saint's face, he walked forward and squatted down, saying, Senior Demon Saint, how can I help you? You want to help me? A trace of confusion flashed in Niao's eyes. The last person who said she wanted to help him was Meng Wei. Before that, it was Chu Nan, the simple human race who was deposed as a monk. Of course, getting along with Sun Suanhua in Yejia village was pretty good. Therefore, Niao does not have much ill intentions towards the human race. No. Wrong. It should be said that a Niao at this time is a kind-hearted Niao. Because the other part that was stripped out and became the tower spirit was his own evil thoughts. Yes, I want to help you, Zuyun said with certainty. Niao shook his head with difficulty and said, you can't help me. Unless. Unless what? Zuyun immediately asked. Unless you can become the master of the demon refining tower. Zuyun was extremely surprised when he said this. He didn't know much about the demon refining tower. But being able to capture a demon cultivator from the demon saint realm, divide the demon soul into two halves, and refine one half into a tower spirit is enough to illustrate the refining ability of the person who made the refinement, and the power of the demon refining tower. Even though he can now use the immortal sword level chaos sword, it is because he has the immortal mansion. The scabbard of the chaos sword is the sword mountain, and the sword mountain is part of the immortal mansion. Therefore, he can use the chaos sword. But that's all. Go a little further. Those elixirs that turned into spirits only came into contact with Zhu Yunping later, and did not regard him as their master at all. Under such circumstances, Zuyun is very self-aware of himself. Furthermore, even if he can successfully obtain the demon refining tower, where will he put it? It is definitely inappropriate to put such treasures on one's body. He couldn't understand why it is a crime to possess a treasure. Put it inside the ring? His intuition told him that this was not appropriate either. Then put it in the immortal mansion? To be honest, Zuyun didn't dare. Then there's nothing we can do. Seeing this, Niao smiled bitterly and said, it is true that the demon refining tower is an extraordinary thing. Even if you, an ordinary alchemy monk, become the master of the tower, you are probably just a chess piece. What's the meaning? Zuyun heard a more profound meaning. The current tower spirit of the demon refining tower is half of me. That's why the demon refining tower will try its best to suppress me and prevent me from turning over. Previously, he swallowed the blood baby inside, and he must have wanted to take advantage of the tower at this time. The master's demon devouring technique will strengthen the power in the demon refining tower, so that he can suck me into it again. Niao's eyes gradually lost their luster, much like Zuyun, who was trapped by the red light at that time. Senior Demon Saint, are you giving up? Zuyun said such a sentence out of nowhere. I haven't given up, but what can I do? Niao looked at Zuyun again and said, if you enter the tower and prevent the tower master from devouring the blood baby, you can help me survive for an extra moment and a half, but in the end, I still can't escape the ending of being sucked into the tower. Then why do I want you to die? You are not from my race, but we all come to the same destination. Different paths lead to the same destination. They are all living creatures. Zuyun didn't expect that a Niao would say such words. That's right. They are indeed different species. But in the end, they are all living beings. The purpose of cultivating monsters is to transform into human form. To transform into human form. They have gone through a lot of hardships. If they want to become human, they want to be of the same race as us. The demon sage turns into a human being, and then he can practice human skills. Different paths lead to the same destination. He would rather not live longer and find a way to escape, but he doesn't want me to go in and die. Zuyun's eyes gradually became firmer, looking at Niao as if he were the same kind. Senior Demon Saint, if I can push away this tower, can I rescue you? He quickly thought of a way. It's okay, Niao actually laughed out loud. He didn't know whether he was laughing at Zuyun's overestimation of his abilities or laughing at his useless efforts. It's just that after pushing away, even if I escape, I will be suppressed again. Just because I am connected with the demon refining tower at this time, what's the point of pushing away? Zuyun breathed a sigh of relief, as long as I can push it away. Senior Demon Saint, I have an idea, but... Just what? Niao felt that he was going to die, and if he could talk to Zuyun, his death wouldn't be too boring. It's just that I need Senior Demon Saint to recognize me as my master. Oh. After hearing this, Niao said, you want me to use the beast controlling techniques to take me to the beast controlling space after I recognize my master? With all due respect, little guy, the demon refining tower is originally designed to target the demon clan. As long as I think about it, even if I am in the beast control space, the space will collapse. In other words, there is no place for me to hide in the world. Zuyun was also a little surprised, but only for the ability of the demon refining tower. I can't do it in the mortal world. I don't know if my fairy mansion can be considered a fairy world. Senior Demon Saint, if you can trust me, I can give it a try. As you said, you are bound to die anyway, why not treat a dead horse as a living horse? Ha ha ha, okay, okay. It's rare that you are willing, little guy. In this case, if you want to try, then go ahead. However, you only have one chance. Because it seems that the blood baby has been devoured almost completely, and I have already felt the power of suppression getting stronger. Senior, please acknowledge your master first. Zuyun clasped his hands into fists and said with great respect. May I have your name? Niao asked calmly. Wish Yun. Zuyun? You are Zuyun. Hearing this name, Niao screamed. Just because he had heard this name from Menguia, Sun Qiniang, and Sun Suanhua countless times in Yejia village. Senior, have you heard my name? Zuyun was also dumbfounded. Ha ha ha, I'll talk about it later. I, the Demon Saint, suddenly feel that I can survive. God's way, I, the Jinpeng Demon Saint, would like to accept the young man before me, Zuyun, as my master. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 692. Senior Demon Saint, I'm offended. Zuyun shouted low, then raised his hand, and a big mountain suddenly appeared in the demon moon forest. On the mountain, there are old trees with roots, which are the ancestral trees. Ancestral tree, help me knock down this demon refining tower. The ancestral tree was no stranger to the demon refining tower. Before he could greet Zuyun, he heard Zuyun's order. Immediately, he gathered all his spiritual power and gathered the power of the holy mountain. Countless branches of different thicknesses, threw it over with a green light. The branches of the ancestral tree made a whining sound and instantly entangled the demon refining tower tightly. When everything was ready, the ancestral tree suddenly exerted force, and the demon refining tower actually opened some. Zuyun, hurry up, I can't last long. When ancestral tree roared, Zuyun was also moved. The golden light everywhere disappeared suddenly, and Zuyun had already taken it into the Xianxia ranch. Ancestral tree, it's ready. At this moment, Zuyun's heart was beating wildly, and there was a thumping sound in his head. That was the sound of his heart beating. The ancestral tree was also exhausted and retracted all the branches without stopping. However, it was corroded by the black air outside the tower and was already riddled with holes. Zuyun, send me back quickly, I need to take a good rest. On the holy mountain, some soil is sprinkled, which can help the ancestral tree recover as soon as possible. But only in the immortal mansion can the ancestral tree be sure of its own safety and calm down. Good work. Zuyun thanked him, and then said, what I brought in just now was a demon saint. I asked ancestral tree to inform the demon saint after entering, so as not to cause any misunderstandings. Easy to say. Zuzha responded, and Zuyun immediately sent him back. At this time, the demon refining tower also returned to its original position, but there was nothing to suppress anymore. Zuyun took a deep breath and stared at the past, feeling a little entangled in his heart. Should he enter the demon refining tower again? But I heard what a Niao said before, maybe Zhu Feng at this time has been controlled by a Niao's other half, the tower spirit. Otherwise, how could he have such strength in a single stage of pill formation? Not to mention, he dared to use the demon refining tower to inhale Pavilion Master Zhang's weird blood baby. No, we can only retreat temporarily. Zhu Yun had a lot of thoughts in his mind, thinking about anything that might happen next. And those Peeper Realm monks who were chasing the demon cultivators had already woken up from the sound of the 9 netherworlds after Pavilion Master Zhang Shuiying entered the demon refining tower. Outside the demon moon forest, the fighting had already stopped. The atmosphere once again fell into an eerie silence. Nangong Yin, Ma Tai, and others were silent when facing the leaderless righteous monks. Relatively speaking, the nascent soul stage of both parties has not been damaged. Only more than half of the ordinary monks are dead. Under the 9 nether demonic sound, they forgot life and death, but after waking up, like Zhu Yun, they could remember what they had done before. Especially Zhong Jingguo, Yao Wuxi, and others who are at the peak of the later stages of nascent soul. I feel scared when I think about it. They are not stupid people, and they are very scary if they think about it carefully. It seems that someone is pushing us to fight between the two realms. Nangong Yin narrowed his eyes and said, "Humph, Nangong sect master, these hypocrites, no matter whether they are being used by others or not, they have never looked down upon our Yusha realm monks. What's there to say? Since it's possible, let's just fight to the death." He searched everywhere but couldn't find Zhu Feng, so he thought that Zhu Feng had died in the chaos just now, and he was filled with anger and vented all his anger on the righteous monks. Sect Master Ma, Nangong Yin glanced at him and said, "If we fight again, it will really mean that relatives hate each other and enemies are quick. You and I, including everyone present, have been taken advantage of by Pavilion Master Zhang. Where does Matai know? He was just angry that he had finally found a good young man who practiced the magic of swallowing demons, only to have him suddenly disappear." At this time, the leader of the demonic puppet sect also spoke. "Originally, our Yusha realm and Peeper realm are not in conflict with each other. I think my fellow disciples here should also be aware that the demonic disciples we sent to guard other realms have always been safe. Xiaoji, never commit suicide. Even when I learned about Mozi's death, I wanted to investigate and find the culprit. But you were blinded by one person's words." These words were spoken openly, and the righteous monks had no words to refute them. Indeed, they were used by Pavilion Master Zhang. But if they were not greedy, how could they be exploited? They have never been to the Yusha realm, but there are rumors in the Peeper realm that there are many treasures in the Yusha realm. Because the skills practiced in the Devil's Path usually rely on swords to move forward, and spiritual medicines and other substances are used relatively rarely. Rather than rushing into the Yusha realm for revenge, everyone actually wants to grab some good things here for reuse in the spiritual world passage. Everyone, at this time, Zhong Jingguo stood up and said, "We did something wrong, but we can't be blamed. If you want to blame, just blame Zhang Feng. Zhang Feng is the name of Pavilion Master Zhang. From what I can see, the magic sound technique that Zhang Feng used to bewitch us just now is very similar to your demonic technique. After all, he is still a member of your demonic way, right? This can't be blamed on us righteous monks." This time it was Mu Ci who spoke. The female cultivator has always been thoughtful, and as soon as she said these words, she awakened everyone on the right path. "That's right, it's obviously you demonic people who are instigating our righteous path. What happened today can't be blamed on us. If we really want to distinguish right from wrong, it's the fault of you Yusha realm." On the side of the righteous path, people began to support this statement, and even had the momentum to fight if they disagreed. Nangong Yin shook his head secretly in his heart. This is the main reason why their demon path despised the righteous path. He deserved the title of hypocrite. However, their demon path did not suffer any losses. At most, the children brought by Matai disappeared. Compared with the Peeper realm, it can be ignored. Okay, even if it is our fault, so what? You entered my Yasha realm without permission, and we don't bother with you. It's good enough. Nangongyan said in a deep voice, his eyes swept around. In his opinion, a biting dog doesn't bark. Demon path cultivators have always been fearless. If you really want to fight, then we will accept it. Sure enough, the people who were swept by his eyes shrank their necks, and the momentum suddenly became much smaller. Humph. Nangongyan snorted coldly, waved his hand, and most of the demon cultivators followed him and retreated. Matai's eyes were gloomy, but he did not stay for long, and also retreated with a group of demon cultivators. They all knew that now that the barrier between the two realms had been destroyed, even if they were driven back, they could still come anytime they wanted in the future. Only a group of righteous cultivators were left here, looking at each other in bewilderment. This war can't be fought. Yes, Zhangfeng is gone, and they have their own thoughts, like scattered sand. Even if they want to fight, how to fight and where to fight? They didn't think of driving us away, otherwise, search for some spiritual medicine here. Zhong Jingguo whispered to some Yuanying stage cultivators with whom he had a good relationship. That's fine, but if we fight with them again? There's no way to fight, the spiritual medicine we need is of little use to them. We shouldn't cause trouble for no reason, and they don't need to risk getting hurt. Yes, Zhangfeng seems to be dead, otherwise we wouldn't have gotten out of that devil's voice. But we still have to break through the spiritual world passage. Most of the Yuanyings had the same idea. After someone took the lead, they reached a consensus, and soon they divided up the territory for searching for spiritual medicine like dividing the spoils. Not long after, everyone here left. Only Yao Wuxi was left. He didn't join any side, but looked straight at the center of the demon moon forest. Others forgot, but he remembered it clearly. The demon refining tower fell into it. Then, let's go in and take a look. Seeing that no one cared about him, the lone leader, Yao Wuxi quietly broke into the demon moon forest. At the same time, a figure also flew up from the bottom of the cliff. It's so scary, so many Yuanying stage here, but where did they go? Should I sneak into the demon will sect first, or be a free cultivator and find a place to settle down? The person who came was Tang Tiangang, who was lucky enough to survive with a trace of his soul, and then took Li Chenjan's body for his own use. But even if he could survive, his strength was less than 1/10 of his original body. Fortunately, he entered the Dao through the formation, and his lack of strength did not have much impact on his formation. Unfortunately, apart from the formation method, he had almost no self-protection power. Seeing that there were many Yuanying auras in all directions, only the direction of the demon moon forest was the faintest, he did not hesitate to get into the demon moon forest. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 693. Just when Tang Tiangang got into the demon moon forest, Zuyun just rushed out from the other side. The two did not meet, otherwise, Tang Tiangang would die. After all, Li Chengan was killed by Zuyun himself, and Tang Tiangang appeared here in the body of Li Chengan. Not to mention that Zuyun was suspicious, and with the caution he should have, he would definitely not let Tang Tiangang go. After rushing out of the demon moon forest, Zuyun immediately walked towards the stone house. He wants to meet Nangong Tingfeng. But he had no idea that Nangong Tingfeng had already bypassed the demon moon forest with Nangong Yin's large group of troops. The wind is high and the moon is dark, nowhere to be found. Forget it, I heard that Lord Feng Mo left a mark on the heavenly painting scroll. You should be able to find me. I'll go find Lao Jin and Lao Ma first. These two people were probably scared to death by the demon refining tower earlier. Zuyun crossed the cliff and jumped directly to the edge of the stone house. Not long after, we reached the bottom of the valley and returned to Peeper Realm. By the way, there is no one outside the Demon Moon Forest. I think they all went back to their homes and went to find their mothers. But it would be okay even if there was a fight. Anyway, the Demon Saint has never thought of harming anyone. Now in the mortal world, only Zhu Feng and Demon Saint's other half are the biggest threats, right? This is too difficult. Zuyun suddenly remembered that the fight was originally very lively, but suddenly there was no one around. Is this considered a success, or is he feeling lonely? There was no one around, so Zuyun simply relaxed his mind and used his spiritual consciousness. Soon, two demonic powers were discovered in the air, belonging to Lao Ma and Lao Jin. From the looks of it, they were not far away. He was overjoyed and called out the three dogs and said, "Have a look. In which direction are Lao Jin and Lao Ma exactly? Master, can you not ask me to find someone every time? This is too tiring." Sangha curled his lips with a look of distress on his face. After all, he is also the leader in charge of the monsters in the Immortal Mansion, right? How about you give these monsters an organization and call them the Searching Brigade? I am the missing person captain. Zuyun laughed and scolded, and said, "I want you to come out and fight, but can you? Stay inside and practice well, but don't tear down the house." The three dogs were speechless for a while, then sniffed their noses and quickly determined their location. Zuyun put away the three dogs and rushed there quickly. Half an hour later, he found Lao Jin and Lao Ma hiding under a boulder, shivering. "What's wrong with you?" Zuyun was also confused. "You are the Demon King, a powerful being comparable to the human nascent soul. It was just a play, could it be that we were too involved in it?" "Owner." Hearing Zuyun's voice, both of them stood up with surprise on their faces and spoke in unison. Lao Jin spoke first. "It was so scary, it almost scared me to death." "Yes," Lao Ma followed, "if the Demon Saint hadn't come and struggled with the Demon Refining Tower for a long time, I'm afraid we would all be dead." Zuyun suddenly frowned. He still remembered the scene where the bird fell from the sky and knocked away the Demon Refining Tower, allowing the two Demon Kings to escape. But at this time, their tone and state seemed to be extremely frightened. The Demon Refining Tower is different. It's different when chasing them. So, is it Zhu Feng or Demon Saint's other half? Master, you don't know something. After all, we came out of the Demon Refining Tower, and we have an instinctive perception of the Demon Refining Tower. I can feel that the Demon Refining Tower is about to become a real Demon Refining Tower. Lao Jin was still frightened and sang with Lao Ma. "Yes, I think if we are sucked into it again, we may be directly refined by the tower and thus absorbed by the tower." After listening to the words of the two Demon Kings, Zuyun frowned and asked, "To be more precise, was it swallowed and absorbed by Zhu Feng, or was it by the Demon Refining Tower?" "Of course it's the Demon Refining Tower." The two Demon Kings spoke in unison again. Zuyun's pupils shrank suddenly. The development of the Demon Refining Tower was beyond his expectation. It might even be beyond Zhu Feng's expectation. He remembered what Aniao said, his other half, maybe. Will seize the body and wish the wind. To seize the body, starting from the nascent soul stage, one can master this kind of method that is outrageous by nature and infuriated by both humans and gods. In the process of seizing the body, the greater the gap between the realms of the two parties, the higher the possibility of success in seizing the body. This is to forcibly erase the consciousness of the original body, thereby taking the body for one's own use. The golden elixir in the elixir formation stage uses the uniqueness of the elixir to coexist with the body, and then slowly integrates one's own soul with the others. The method of using golden elixir to seize the body is uncertain and has many variables. But everything remains true to its roots, and in the end they will have two memories. The biggest difference from seizing one's body is that seizing one's body only happens once in a lifetime. After successfully seizing the body, you will completely get everything that belongs to the original body. Whether it's skills or memory. Zuyun was horrified. The current tower spirit was originally the evil intention of the demon saint. If it were to take away the home of a wicked person like Zhu Feng again, I am afraid that the human race would suffer another disaster. He would have guessed that the tower spirit would seize the body, but he thought that the tower spirit might not like Zhu Feng's current state. After all, it is only the elixir formation period, and it may take some more time. Even after sucking the blood baby into the tower, Zuyun had speculated whether the tower spirit helped Zhu Feng grow bigger and stronger. But when he thought about it carefully, he realized that he was wrong. Maybe Taling had already started planning this. It's just that Zhu Feng doesn't know it yet. Don't think too much. Even if the demon refining tower has become stronger, it is definitely not a wise move for him to take over the body at this time, so, we just need to find the right opportunity to kill Zhu Feng. No matter how strong the tower spirit is, it is still a spirit body after all. If no one controls the tower, he will have no chance. Zuyun couldn't help thinking that if Zhu Feng was really killed, the demon refining tower would just sink him into the volcano in the land of Chinen. You go find the demon saint first, I'll be there soon. Zuyun sent the two demon kings back first, and then began to arrange the formation. He was not sure whether there would be a nascent soul passing by here, so he not only laid out the 9 turns 9 yang formation, but also laid out the Dozhuan Xinyi formation outside this formation. The combination of the two formations, I'm afraid no one in the world can break it. After doing all this, Zuyun entered the immortal mansion and ran to the pasture. Lakeside. A Niao sat on a low hill, with Lao Jin and Lao Ma sitting next to him. Zhao Kamang, Shizu Beast, and Sangu, who were not far away, looked over here curiously. Zuyun, you are here. Just as Zuyun approached, A Niao suddenly turned around and greeted him with a smile. Zuyun immediately clasped his fists, Demon Saint. A Niao waved his hands and said with a smile, no need to be restrained, you are the master now. Besides, have you ever seen a demon saint as weak as me? Zuyun was speechless. A Niao's attitude made him feel much better about demon cultivators. After thinking for a while, it seemed that there were not many demon cultivators he met who were killed without explanation. If you really want to say, Qiuyu, the demon king of the Fox clan, is one of them. But after Qiuyu smelled Qiu Qi's scent on him, he did not continue to attack. Even later, he returned the two fox girls Qiu Wangzai who he rescued, and Qiuyu said that the Fox clan owed him a favor. The silver fox hair was still lying quietly in his ring. Thinking of my original guess that the Dongshenjing people were not of my kind, their hearts must be different, I felt ridiculous at this moment. The end of demon cultivation is to become a human, to become an immortal. Demon Saint, are you used to this place? Zuyun threw away all the distracting thoughts and asked seriously. I was a little uncomfortable at first, but when I saw that this seemed to be a brand new world, with rich spiritual energy, and these spiritual powers can be converted into demon power at will, I got used to it. By the way, is the big tree you summoned to save me over there? A Niao pointed to one side and said. Yes, the demon saint wants to go there. A Niao stood up and said, that tree looks alive. I'll talk to him and maybe I can know something I want to know. Don't worry, I won't hurt innocent people here. As soon as the voice fell, a Niao transformed into a golden rock and flew over there. Only Zuyun and the two demon kings were left, looking at each other. After instructing Lao Jin and Lao Ma to follow and act as a tour guide for a Niao, Zuyun also left the fairy house. Originally, he wanted to ask where A Niao knew his name. but it was obvious that Aniao was more interested in the ranch at this time, so he would wait for some time and sit down to talk to him. For now, he should find Feng Anhe first. Feng Anhe was settled by him 10 miles away from the cliff, not too far away, and did not need the help of Sango. Not long after, Zuyun met Feng Anhe. "Old Feng, I didn't see your wife, can you find her?" As soon as Zuyun opened his mouth, Feng Anhe was furious. "I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills." Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 694. Why, you can't find her? Zuyun's face was full of confusion. He just thought that since Feng Anhe could contact Nangong Ting Feng, it shouldn't be difficult to find her, right? Is this expression necessary? You don't understand, Feng Anhe said in a gentle tone, explaining, if Ting Feng is not here, he must have gone back to the Demon Seal sect. If he goes back, he will definitely not be able to come out. Zuyun said strangely, "No, did you make a mistake? What's up?" Feng Anhe was stunned. "If he can't come out, we can go to the Demon Seal sect." At this point, Zuyun slapped his forehead and said with a smile, "I almost forgot to tell you that the battle between the two realms can no longer be fought, and I also got the exact news. It is untrue that Dongsheng realm will take advantage of the chaos to invade. We all guessed too much." "Ah." Feng Anhe let out a surprise. "If that's the case, wouldn't he be able to go to the spirit world earlier? The most important thing is that there is no need for him to go to Nangong Ting Feng. Little brother, let's go home." Feng Anhe said quickly. From the bottom of his heart, he did not dare to go to the Demon Seal sect. It's not the fear of the Demon Seal sect, but the fear of the father-in-law whom he has almost never met. "Go home." Zuyun glanced at him disdainfully and said, "Old man, you don't even dare to meet your mother-in-law. What kind of man are you?" These words seemed to hit Feng Anhe's pain point, making him jump immediately. "Nonsense, if I'm not a man, how can I have a son?" Zuyun sneered, "How can you be sure that is your son?" "Woa." Feng Anhe was furious and said angrily, "Whether he is my son or not, don't I know? If he is not my son, how could he inherit the single spirit root of the wind element of our Feng family? Little brother, please don't provoke me, I won't go to the Demon Seal sect." "Okay, if you don't want to go, I won't go, then I will go." Zuyun spread his hands and said with an indifferent expression. When he came here, Zuyun had already thought about it. Demon Seal sect, he must go. Before the battle between the two realms, he saw the prestige of Nangong Yin. If he wants to completely solve the demon refining tower, it will definitely not be enough for him alone. As for why not find Matai? It's actually very simple. Because Matai accepted Zhu Feng as his disciple. In other words, Zhu Feng inexplicably became a disciple of the devouring demon sect. He was very sure that Gaijing's blessing must have deceived Matai. If under such circumstances, Matai is allowed to deal with Zhu Feng, this is simply courting death. Zuyun didn't want to make another enemy for no reason, let alone a strong enemy. And going to the Demon Seal sect is not necessarily safe. But at least bringing Feng Anhe with him can help attract some attention. In short, he used Feng Anhe as a shield, so he didn't use it in vain. Zuyun has no psychological burden. After all, if Feng Anhe wants to go to the spirit world, he can't just sit back and enjoy the success, right? This. Sure enough, Zuyun's words hit Feng Anhe's pain point. "Why not if I go?" He spread his hands, feeling helpless. Zuyun laughed. "Yao realm, in the mountain road leading to Peepa realm." Tang Liwen took Qiu Qi in her arms and took steps forward. "Xiao Qi, do you think my eyes can be healed?" Tang Liwen said while stroking Qiu Qi's furry head. Squeak. Qiu Qi called out twice, then stretched out his pink tongue and licked Tang Liwen's wrist twice. Giggle. Tang Liwen smiled softly and said, "Aren't you afraid that if my eyes heal, I will throw you aside?" Qiu Qi tilted his head and thought for a moment, then shook his head. "Don't worry. Although I, Tang Liwen, am not a good person, I still keep my word. Since I promised Zuyun, I will definitely send you back to Shiwanda Mountain. Zuyun and I are separated. It's just that we have different paths, we are not compatible. It's just a conspiracy, not an enemy." After that, Tang Liwen released her spiritual consciousness and accelerated her flight speed. A few hours later, she came to the Peeper realm again. "Xiaoqi, that master is unpredictable and has a weird temper. When the time comes, you will hide in my arms and be sure not to make a sound, but remember," Tang Liwen solemnly ordered. Her beautiful and mature face was extremely solemn. Qiu Qi obediently got into Tang Liwen's arms, listened to the whistling wind coming from the outside, and slowly fell asleep. Not long after, she suddenly smelled a foul smell and woke up suddenly. Only then did she realize that Tang Liwen had stopped flying and was walking slowly in one direction. She was very surprised in her heart, but remembering Tang Liwen's instructions, she didn't dare to poke her head out rashly. But as time went by, she felt that the stench was getting stronger and stronger. In desperation, she had no choice but to hold her breath, hoping to wait for Tang Liwen to do something good before she could come out and take a breath of fresh air. After a while, Tang Liwen stopped. In front of her was a simple wooden house. "Senior, are you here?" "Junior Tang Liwen, you have lived up to your trust and come to see me." Tang Liwen shouted crisply, her tone extremely respectful. Even she, who is at the peak of the late nascent soul, calls her a senior. One can only imagine how capable this expert is. After a moment, the wooden door creaked, and a figure covered in grey linen clothes walked out. At the same time, Qiu Qi also smelled an even more disgusting smell. Corruption, monsters, blood, stench, all kinds of disgusting smells blended together. But the strange thing is that Tang Liwen didn't react at all. Qiu Qi was secretly surprised. Tang Liwen's endurance was really amazing. As everyone knows, only she can smell the smell, Tang Liwen is not aware of it. "You're finally here," an ethereal and eternal voice came from the figure. "Did you bring what I wanted?" And this voice will never be forgotten by Tang Liwen. If it hadn't been for her, he would have died by Wan Jianren's sword. The one who is alive today is the master of this voice. Tang Liwen was even a little excited. After he cured his eyes, he must see what this expert looked like. Her character is not weird, but she is a bit extreme. If you have a grudge, you will die to avenge it. If you have a favor, you will remember it in your heart. Even if she brought the heavenly book this time, it was just a transaction. But in her eyes, being able to heal her eyes was of great significance to her path to immortality. Otherwise, how could she advance to the next level? "Bring it, Senior, this is the heavenly book that was brought out from the secret realm of the heavenly book. I can't see it with my eyes, Senior, please read it in person." After saying that, she bowed and presented the fake 5 elements of Chaos Sutra with both hands. "Yes, you did a good job. Let me read through it and give you the elixir that can cure your eyes." The figure was very satisfied. With a grab in the air, the book in Tang Liwen's hand flew over and landed in his hand. No one could see the ecstatic expression on the figure's face at this time. Just by flipping through a few pages, he realized a lot of wisdom. Just because Zuyun had not made any changes to his cultivation method before the pill formation stage. Because of this, he ignored this somewhat shoddy fake exercise book. If Zuyun were here, he would definitely understand a deeper truth about deceiving people, that is, 70% true and 30% false, and people who are deceived will be more likely to be fooled. Okay. Yes, this is the Book of Heaven. The figure was extremely excited. He reached out and took out a bottle of elixir from his arms, and threw it towards Tang Liwen. It was not difficult for her to identify the position by listening to the sound. Tang Liwen grabbed it with her hand, and the porcelain bottle fell steadily into her hand. Okay, the deal between you and me is completed. Take 1 pill a day for 7 days, and your eyes will return to normal. However, you need to leave this place thousands of miles away before taking it. Otherwise, don't blame me. Do you remember the feeling of not reading this book? Senior, Junior. Tang Liwen hesitated a little. In her original plan, she thought of curing her eyes before saying thank you. What, you don't want to? The figure suddenly burst into murderous aura. Tang Liwen was shocked and said, Senior, I want to admire your appearance so that I can remember your kindness in my heart. No need. The figure waved his hand and said, everyone who has seen my true appearance is already dead. Therefore, you are not allowed to come here again, otherwise, you will be killed without mercy. After saying that, the figure turned around and walked into the wooden house with the book in hand. Tang Liwen's heart was constantly ups and downs. She had such a humble side, but she was ruthlessly rejected, so she naturally felt uncomfortable. At this time, there were several scratches in the arms. After spending several months with Xiu-Qi, Tang Liwen knew what she meant, which was to tell her to leave here quickly. Although she felt a little unfair in her heart, Tang Liwen did not hesitate and ran with Xiu-Qi thousands of miles away before pulling Xiu-Qi out of his arms. Squeak, squeak, squeak. Xiu-Qi bared his teeth and claws, barked, and looked very anxious. You want me to take you back to Shiwanda Mountain first? Tang Liwen frowned and said. Squeak. Xiu-Qi nodded repeatedly. She wished she could turn into a human form, and then loudly told Tang Liwen that the so-called expert in her mouth was actually a demon cultivator. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 695. Xiu-Qi grew up in Yehua Mountain and was pampered and cared for by his tribe. She doesn't like to practice, and the most she does is pester the clan elders and tell all kinds of demon clan stories. Among them, the one she is most interested in is Dongsheng Realm. Many elders said that the birthplace of their demon fox clan was in Dongsheng Realm, but a long, long time ago. How long, the elders said, they didn't know. It might be thousands of years, it might be tens of thousands of years, it might be tens of millions of years. Xiu-Qi had no interest in the Dongsheng realm, but was very interested in the many monster races unique there. But in Tang Liwen's arms, doing nothing and panicking due to the stench, she suddenly remembered what an elder once told her. Xiao-Qi, if you can cultivate to the realm of Demon King in the future and want to go to the next level, you can only go to the spirit world. Only by going to the spirit world can you become a demon saint and transform into a real human form. Xiu-Qi was surprised at that time and said, Elder, isn't it possible to transform into a human form during the transformation stage? Xiao-Qi, the transformation period is just the beginning of adulthood. Transformation means turning into a human form, not a real adult. Only by surviving the catastrophe of the demon clan and washing away the demonic aura, can the person transformed at that time become a human being, not a real adult. We are real people. The human race calls us demon saints, which means saints. At that time, Xiu-Qi was still very ignorant and did not understand what the so-called saint meant. Instead, he remembered that if he wanted to go further, he would go to the spiritual world and become a demon saint. But elder, can't we go to the spirit world in the people realm? Because we are not a human race, we can only take the demon clan's exclusive passage. And the ancestral land of the demon clan is in the Dongsheng realm. However, if you go to the Dongsheng realm, don't be careful. Elder, didn't you say that the 12 major demon clans take turns to rule the Dongsheng realm? Moreover, the demon cultivators in the Dongsheng realm are not as arrogant and unreasonable as our demons in the 100,000 mountains. Xiaoqi, you are still young, and I, the elder, cannot explain clearly at the moment. In short, there is a kind of demon clan that even the 12 major demon clans cannot control. It is the Nightmare clan. Nightmare? What is that? I don't know either. Anyway, our nine-tailed fox tribe has passed down orally that this kind of nightmare demon is arrogant, jealous, furious, lazy, greedy, gluttonous, and lustful, so we call it the seven sins demon. Qiuqi still remembered that when the elder said this, his face was extremely pale. But she didn't understand what the seven sins were. Xiaoqi, the elder gently stroked her little head and said, the reason why we fairy tale fox monsters left the Dongsheng realm was actually forced to leave by the nightmare monsters. It's just because they thought our clan was Ju, their nickname. It's seven. This reason made Qiuqi's eyes widen at that time, feeling extremely incredible. Because of this, she remembered the nightmare demon nicknamed the Seven Sins demon very clearly. Moreover, he noted down the characteristics of the nightmare demon. Extremely stench. Therefore, in Tang Liwen's arms, her heart was not here. But later, the stench was so strong that she couldn't stop it even if she held her breath, and it finally reminded her of the nightmare. The culprit who drove the nine-tailed fox clan away from Dongsheng realm. The nightmare demon that even the 12 major demon clans cannot punish. Finally, after running wildly for several days, Tang Liwen and Qiuqi arrived at Shiwanda Mountain. Going to Demon Fox Mountain? Then you need to lead the way. Tang Liwen kept running, and she didn't know why she was so impatient. Maybe it was influenced by Xiaoqi? She thought to herself. After a few days, Qiuqi's mood became much calmer. She stuck her head out and started to give directions. After a few more days, they finally approached Demon Fox Mountain. Qiuqi didn't know the location of Yejia village, but she was familiar with Yehua Mountain. Moreover, Tang Liwen needs to take medicine for 7 consecutive days, so the secret path of Demon Fox Mountain is suitable for her. There is a Demon King. Just as the Demon Fox King was right in front of him, a silver light suddenly rushed out from the top of Demon Fox Mountain and rushed straight towards Tang Liwen. Just when Tang Liwen was about to wave her hands in formation in response, Qiuqi suddenly broke away from her arms. She couldn't fly, so she took advantage of Tang Liwen's arms and jumped. Squeak, squeak, squeak. Xiaoqi, be careful. Tang Liwen exclaimed, but she didn't expect that the Demon King's demonic power would reach Qiuqi. Even if she didn't use her spiritual sense, she could feel it. This demonic power protected Qiuqi extremely softly, and then brought her to the Demon King. Human race. Qiuyu was surprised and happy, trying to control his tone. Tang Liwen didn't speak, because Qiuqi was chirping, seeming to be communicating with the Demon King. You said she is your friend. Qiuyu lowered his head, his eyes full of tenderness. At the same time, several more demon foxes were flying down the Demon Fox Mountain. His figure is strong, and although his aura is not weak, it is much inferior to that of the Demon King. He is obviously not in the same realm. Yes, father. If it weren't for her care, I wouldn't have come back alive. Qiuqi said seriously, and this time, she sent me home specifically. Hearing this, Qiuyu looked up at Tang Liwen and said softly, I am the Demon King of the Nine-Tailed Fox clan. Thank you so much to this human Taoist friend for sending your little girl back. Xiaoqi and I are friends, and she has helped me a lot. In addition, I am also entrusted by my friends to take good care of Xiaoqi. It is only natural to send her back. Qiuqi interrupted at the right time and said, Dad, she can't see her eyes, and there is no place to heal her injuries. I want her to stay in Demon Fox Mountain. What do you think? Qiuyu did not answer, but said to Tang Liwen, this fellow Taoist said he was entrusted by someone, is he Zuyun? Exactly. Tang Liwen was not polite, she could understand the relationship clearly, and even at this time she and Qiu Qi had the same idea. It would be great if the Demon Fox clan showed their goodwill and stayed here to treat their eyes. After all, Shiwanda Mountain belongs to the realm of Chuzhu, and the spiritual power is not that strong, so it is impossible for a monk to threaten her. Ha ha ha, please forgive me for being rude earlier. Fellow Taoist Xiao Qi cannot see in both eyes, and he is trying to heal his injuries. I, the Demon Fox Mountain, will sweep the collapse to welcome you. Then thank you so much, Your Majesty the Demon Emperor. Tang Liwen was very happy and followed Qiu Yu to fly to Demon Fox Mountain. Dad, wait a minute, I have something else to ask you to help me translate. Qiu Qi was suffering from the inability to speak, so she just wanted to write, but she didn't know much, and Tang Liwen couldn't see her, so she couldn't tell her anything about the master. It just so happens that I can tell Qiu Yu the news about the nightmare monster in Peeper Realm, saving her the trouble of telling her twice. So, Xiao Qi, Qiu Yu patted her head fondly and said, I told you to practice hard. If you practice harder, with your talent, you will already surpass your father. By then, which human race do you want to talk to? Isn't it easy? Qiu Qi blushed for a while when he was told that, and then said, Father, I met the nightmare demon. What a fuss, isn't it? What did you say? Nightmare. Qiu Yu originally thought there was something wrong with Qiu Qi being so pretentious, but when he realized what he was doing, he couldn't help but be shocked. As the leader of the nine-tailed demon fox clan of this generation, he knows more about the nightmare demon than any other clan member. Don't be anxious, help me translate first, Qiu Qi said. You said that the master is a demon clan, and a very bad demon clan. Before letting her swallow the elixir, she needs to pay attention to the elixir. Condition. Qiu Yuqiang suppressed the madness in his heart and conveyed Qiu Qi's words to Tang Liwen. Suddenly, Tang Liwen was also shocked. She knew that Qiu Qi would not target without aim, and Qiu Qi had a keen sense of smell, so he might have smelled something she could not smell. Thinking of this, she quickly poured all the elixirs in the porcelain bottle into the palm of her hand and smelled them one by one. She is not good at elixirs, but she can tell if there is something wrong with the elixirs. The elixir is the same, she muttered to herself and put the elixir back, doubts rising in her heart. Since he is a demon clan, why do he still need to take the human clan's heavenly book? Is it possible that he can practice? When he was puzzled, Qiu Yu also spoke in shock, saying, Fellow Taoist, can you tell me what happened when you met the nightmare demon? Forgive me for speaking frankly, there are differences between nightmare demon and my clan. Damn it! Tang Liwen thought about it for a moment, and then started to talk about it starting from the encounter hundreds of years ago. She even told the story about the deal with the nightmare about the Book of Heaven. However, she concealed the fact that the heavenly book was a forgery. Qiu Yu pondered for a moment, and then said after a long while, it seems that the nightmare demon is going to cause trouble. Demon Emperor, I heard Zuyun say earlier that Dongsheng realm might attack the human race. I wonder, is this possible? Suddenly, Tang Liwen said something shocking. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 696. Due to the information gap, Tang Liwen didn't know that Zuyun's previous guesses were all wrong. But she believed it firmly, otherwise she wouldn't have parted ways with Zuyun. Now, she heard that a more powerful monster had been found, and she couldn't help but want to leave Peeper Realm even more. Daiyu, if there were no nightmare monsters, it would be impossible for Dongsheng Realm to attack the human race. But now that the nightmare monsters have come to the human race, there is indeed a certain possibility of this. After Qiu Yu finished speaking, he fell into deep thought. After a while, Qiu Yu said to Tang Liwen, Daiyu, you can heal your wounds here. If you have any questions, just call me. After that, he took Qiu Qi away from here. Tang Liwen just wanted to cure her eye disease as soon as possible, and then go to the spiritual world passage to leave this place as soon as possible. Put a pill into her mouth and began to heal her wounds. Zuyun brought Feng and he to Yasharelm again. On the edge of the cliff, Zuyun pointed to the only stone house and said, Old Feng, this should be where your wife lived before, do you want to go in and take a look? Ting Feng is not here again, what's there to see? Let's get things done as soon as possible. From what you said, the demon race can't attack the human race, and now the good and evil can't fight each other, isn't it better to go to the spirit world as soon as possible? Feng and he said impatiently. Old Feng, do you think going to the spirit world will be like us just stepping into the immortal path? Zuyun asked lightly. What do you mean? Feng and he didn't understand what Zuyun meant. He was born in Peepa Realm and Huaytan Valley. He had no worries about food and clothing, and relied on his ancestral wind spirit root to cultivate to the nascent soul stage. Just like he wanted to leave now, his father also went to the spirit world channel after handing over Huaytan Valley to him. But Feng and he didn't know whether he succeeded in getting through. What I mean is that in the mortal world, the nascent soul stage is the best, like the head of a chicken. But in the spiritual world, there are even stronger stages such as the spiritualization stage, the fusion stage, the void refining stage, and even the Mahayana stage and the tribulation crossing stage. You said that we have become the tail of the phoenix again. So that's what you're talking about, Feng, and he suddenly realized, but said with a look of disapproval, you only need to know one thing, do you want to break through the spiritualization stage? Of course I do. That's it, Feng, and he said with a smile, if you want to continue on this immortal path, you must go to the spiritual world. In the same world, the degree of spiritual power and the limitations of the way of heaven will never allow you to break through to the spiritualization stage. So is it important to be the head of a chicken and the tail of a phoenix? If you think that you are satisfied with the nascent soul stage, then just ignore what I said. Of course I am not satisfied, Zuyun shook his head and said, I cultivate immortality to pursue immortality. If I stay in the Peepa realm, live for thousands of years, and wait until my lifespan is exhausted, what is the difference between that and lying flat for 100 years as a mortal? That's right, Feng Anhe's face flashed with admiration, and then he sneered, little brother, even if you stay in the mortal world, your life is not ordinary. Look at what you have done. Zuyun was speechless, knowing that Feng Anhe said that he first prevented the war between the two realms, and now he was going to take him into the tiger's den. Tisk tisk tisk. The demon seal sect is indeed dangerous to Feng Anhe. Thinking of this, he laughed. But after this conversation, his mind became clearer. That's right, I just want to pursue immortality. It's just that in addition to pursuing immortality, do something within your ability. As he spoke, he looked at the demon moon forest again. At this time, the sky gradually brightened, and the demon moon forest no longer seemed so gloomy and terrifying. But Zuyun knew that there was a kind of weird aura inside, which must be from the demon refining tower. Thinking of the tower spirit of the demon refining tower, it was the evil thoughts of a demon saint, and it might merge with another evil man Zhu Feng at any time. Zuyun thought about it and shuddered again. He took Feng Anhe to the demon seal sect, not for the reunion of the couple. The most fundamental thing was to borrow the power of the demon seal sect to either trap the demon refining tower or kill Zhu Feng. When this half-brother practiced magic and turned himself into a demon, Zuyun already knew that he was more different from other demon cultivators. Perhaps, this is the reason why he practiced so fast. But Zuyun didn't know. Zhu Feng's change had his reasons. and the biggest change was when he refined the demon refining tower into his own magic weapon. What kind of existence is the tower spirit? Even if he was divided and suppressed, he could not be successfully refined by the tiny realm at the beginning. It was only because his devouring magic skill was extremely compatible with the tower spirit that he was used, and slowly penetrated into it bit by bit, subtly affecting Zhu Feng. It was a pity that Zhu Feng did not know. At this time, he was still self-righteous, and he was about to break through the nascent soul stage. Because, after the demon refining tower sucked Zhang Feng's blood infant in, it gathered all the power of the tower to suppress the blood infant, and then let Zhu Feng go forward to devour it. This is also why, when Aniao was pressed at the bottom of the tower, he immediately felt the power in the tower become stronger. But how strong is Zhang Feng? It is not an exaggeration to say that he is the first person in the mortal world. Unfortunately, he encountered the Chaos Sword. This is a sword from the fairy world. Not to mention the mortal world, even the spiritual world cultivators can hardly block it. You can only avoid its edge. At this time, Zhang Feng's blood baby looked at Zhu Feng in front of him with fear. This kid was already standing in front of him, constantly eating away at his strength and lifespan. After several hours, he had no power to resist at all. Because at this moment, the tower spirit used all its accumulated strength to suppress him. He knew it very well. If Zhu Feng was strong, he would be strong. If Zhu Feng was weak, even if he took over his body, there would be no benefit at all. Zhang Feng went from previous rage to later unwillingness to now accepting his fate. Little Taoist friend, whatever you want, I can give it to you, I can give it to you. Zhang Feng begged bitterly, but Zhu Feng was enjoying the slow growth of his strength and could touch the barrier of the nascent soul at any time. How could he listen to Zhang Feng? Little Taoist friend, otherwise, give me a quick death, I can't stand it, I can't stand it. The feeling of being swallowed was very painful. And for cultivators with stronger power, such as Zhang Feng, this kind of pain will last longer because of their realm. Little Taoist friend, I am the leader of the Demon Soul Demon section. I can teach you the supreme magic skill. Little Taoist friend, your devouring magic skill will be combined with my Demon Soul magic skill. When you reach the spirit world and the 9 netherworld in the future, you will be the king. Little Taoist friend, please give me a quick death. I beg you. Please. In the end, Zhang Feng lost consciousness due to the pain, and he spoke without thinking, and every word fell into Zhu Feng's ears. Zhu Feng was unmoved, but it did not mean that he did not hear clearly. On the contrary, he remembered everything. He was going to the spirit world. But the 9 netherworld. What is that? It doesn't matter. When I reach the nascent soul, I can start preparing to go to the spirit world. Even if I can't kill Zhu Yun for a while, I will surpass him in realm first. This is Zhu Feng's obsession, and even the tower spirit cannot eliminate it. Unless, he is completely possessed by the tower spirit. As the blood infant's body slowly shrank, the power in Zhu Feng's body also expanded more and more. Thanks to the suppression of the demon refining tower, these extremely powerful forces could not hurt Zhu Feng's body at all, but helped him slowly break through the bottleneck of the nascent soul stage. Finally, after the blood infant was completely devoured, a loud noise came from Zhu Feng's purple palace. A touch of strange red followed, spreading down and rushing straight into his lower abdomen. There, is where the golden elixir is. Boom! The golden elixir exploded, and the lower abdomen was filled with a red mist. After the body absorbed all the red mist, a baby who looked exactly like Zhu Feng appeared at the location of the golden elixir. Nascent soul. This nascent soul was red throughout, but a layer of black substance flowed outside the body. It was neither gas nor water. A closer look revealed that it was somewhat similar to the black gas lingering outside the demon refining tower. At this time, the nascent soul closed its eyes and slowly turned around. Until the redness on his body faded away, it meant that Zhu Feng had completely used Zhang Feng's power for his own benefit. At this moment, his eyes suddenly opened. Break the pill and become an infant. Boom. There was another loud noise in the demon refining tower. The black pool where the altar was located was also surging. Ha ha ha, I'm in the nascent soul stage. Then no one in the entire mortal world can escape my devouring magic skill. With Zhu Feng's breakthrough, Tang Tiangang appeared in front of the demon refining tower. He was already dazed, and couldn't figure out why the demon refining tower in Chuzhu would appear in Yusha realm. But before he could react, the bronze door of the demon refining tower opened wide, and a strong suction came, sucking him in. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 697. Zuyun and Feng and he deliberately avoided the demon moon forest. After going around, Zuyun suddenly remembered something and asked quickly, "Old man Feng, do you know where the demon seal sect is?" If he remembered correctly, Feng and he was also visiting Yusha realm for the first time. "I don't know, but I know." Feng and he stopped and carefully took out a sachet-sized bag from his arms. Just when Zuyun Hui thought it was some mysterious magic weapon, who would have thought that Feng and he took out a map from it? When I opened it, I saw that it was hand-painted. For a moment, Zuyun felt that he was a little hasty. "Hey, little brother, don't underestimate this map. Ting Feng drew it for me personally. I haven't taken it out for hundreds of years. If it weren't for you this time, I wouldn't show it to you." Feng and he held a treasure in his hands and motioned to Zuyun to come over and take a look. "Hey, old man Feng, don't tell me, did Lord Feng Mo paint this for you?" Zuyun asked curiously. "Isn't it?" Feng and he was very proud and said, "It's a long story. Back then Ting Feng insisted that I go to the Yusha realm to propose marriage. But at that time I was only at the stage of forming an elixir, so how could I dare to break into the Yusha realm? He said that after his realm was higher, I'll prepare some betrothal gifts later. Later, there was news from the Moyin sect, and it was too late for me to prepare, and then Ting Feng was brought back, so this picture was never used." Zuyun curled his lips and said, "Old man Feng, I am not interested in your romantic affairs at all. I only care about whether this picture is accurate. Ting Feng can't lie to me," Feng and he said seriously, and then pointed to the picture above and said, "The one we bypassed before was the Demon Moon Forest, so we should be at this location now. The Demon Moon Forest is where we went. Yanzhong is almost 3,000 miles away from us." Zuyun looked at the words Feng and he pointed at, then followed the drawn line back, and saw a familiar sect. Yalogo Demon Sect. The one in Yazhu is the Yalogo sect, and the one in Yushu is the Yalogo Demon Sect. After knowing that there were many disciples from the demon sect in the Yusha realm who were stationed in other realms, Zuyun knew without a doubt that this was the Yalogo sect. At the same time, he remembered another thing. Luo Yan ran. At that time, they came out with the female cultivators from the Silver Sword sect, and something happened later. Luo Yan ran also said that he would take Zuyun to an incredible place. Counting the time, if everything goes well, maybe Luo Yan ran is already in Yalogo Demon Sect, right? This is just along the way. You can reach the territory of Yalogo Demon Sect in less than 1,000 miles. How about going over and taking a look? After all, he and Feng and he were not familiar with Yusha realm. And he felt that Feng and he was not very reliable. "Old man Feng, although we are a little anxious, we are not in a hurry. We are not familiar with this place. How about we go here to have a look first?" Zuyun pointed at the four words Yalogo Demon Sect and said. "Yalogo Demon Sect? What are you doing there?" Feng and he said strangely. "That's what I think. Look, since your mother-in-law marked this place, it means there must be something different about this place. Zuyun started to talk and started to fool Feng and he. What he was thinking was that he didn't need Luo Yanran to help him get things done, but if he could get acquainted with the master of Yaluo demon sect, it wouldn't be a bad idea. I don't think there's any difference. In terms of experience, Feng and he is really not as good as Zuyun. Otherwise, he would be deceived by the monks from the Peeper realm to deal with the Lin family. He touched his messy hair, his face full of confusion. Look, on such a map, why is it only written about Yaluo demon sect, Silver Sword demon sect, Devouring demon sect and the Destination demon seal sect? No other places on the map are written. Zuyun is confusing right and wrong. When Nangong Tingfeng drew this map, he just drew the shortest route, and there was no need to go through other places at all. But how could Feng and he know this? When Zuyun said this, he couldn't help being brought in. And it was indeed a road trip, and Zuyun was the main one along the way. Feng and he nodded and said, "Little brother, it is okay to go to the territory of Yaluo demon sect, but you must not cause trouble." "Am I causing trouble?" Zuyun said dissatisfied, "Old man Feng, I can't compare to you when it comes to troublemaking. Look at this map, you've never used it, right?" "Yeah, what's the problem?" Feng and he simply couldn't keep up with Zuyun's rhythm. As soon as this rhetorical question came out, he was already in Zuyun's way. "Of course there is a problem. Does this mean you haven't proposed marriage to the Demon Seal sect?" "Well, I've never been there." "Isn't that what it is?" Zuyun suddenly clapped his hands and said with a laugh, "Old man Feng, you can do it? You asked Lord Tingfeng to give birth to a baby for you without proposing marriage. Who in the world can do this? Comparable to you? Good guy." Feng and Chui Huzi glared and said angrily, "This was not my intention. It was obviously too sudden. Tingfeng was captured by people sent by the Demon Seal sect. At that time, I went out to find materials for sword refining." Zuyun chuckled and said, "Okay, you don't need to explain. To explain is to cover up, and to cover up is to make up a story. Anyway, I won't believe even a word of what you say." "Humph," Feng and he snorted coldly, but slapped his forehead suddenly and said in surprise, "Little brother, it seems, my son is still in Yusha realm." Zuyun was also stunned, and hurriedly said, "Yes, yes, yes." Calculating the time, he must not have returned to Peeper realm, otherwise he would definitely come to Huayton Valley to find you. Feng and he immediately became anxious and said, "Little brother, to be honest, I had agreed with Tingfeng before that after she found you, she would look for my son. I left a soul mark on Qingyang." "Soul mark? Can you find it?" Zuyun actually didn't care much about Feng Qingyang and Xianxia. At most, Zuyun was more interested in the shuttle. As a magical tool for escaping, this shuttle is indeed good. But Zuyun now has a Niao. It's easy to escape. What's the need for a shuttle? What's more, he doesn't have the time. However, looking at Feng and his anxious look, he thought that he could only help find it as much as possible. As for the 5 elements Chaos Sutra in their hands, Zuyun was not worried at all. Not everyone can practice this technique. And the mortals in the Peeper realm probably don't have the chance to get the 5 elements Chaos Sutra. I don't know if Antang handed over the fake technique. Zuyun murmured carefully, Feng and he had already sensed it, and said anxiously, "Little brother, I can't sense it now. Will something happen?" Zuyun frowned and said, "There are many causes of death, and he is a little worried that it was caused by the 5 elements Chaos Sutra. He is not dead. If he is dead, I will know immediately. Maybe he was caught by someone." Feng and he speculated. "It's not that he is just imagining things, it's really that this is the Yusha realm, and there are demon cultivators everywhere. It's impossible to catch him." Zuyun suddenly had an idea and said, Do you think it's possible that they hid in some mysterious place to practice? Practicing what? Feng Anhe looked strange and said, although you told me that they stole the Book of Heaven, but looking at them, they don't look like destined people. If you say they created a human being to continue the incense of my Feng family, I might believe it. Hearing this, Zuyun couldn't breathe a sigh of relief. Old Feng, is it really okay for you to say that about your son? Zuyun didn't believe it at all. After all, Xianxia used Feng Qingyang with a purpose. But he didn't know whether the purpose was the Book of Heaven. But now the only thing that can be confirmed is that Feng Qingyang is not dead. And he has a better reason to find Feng Qingyang. Old Feng, we are not far from the Yologo demon section, how about we ask someone over there? To ask, you need spirit stones, right? Zuyun raised his eyebrows and said with a smile, as long as you are obedient, it doesn't matter if you spend some spirit stones. Feng Anhe's eyes lit up. I almost forgot that this little brother is very rich. He can give me tens of thousands of spirit stones at will, and he is only in the Jindan stage. Comparing people with each other is really annoying. I am in the Yuanying stage, the head of a family, the head of a sect, but I am not as rich as him. Hee, little brother, how about I teleport over there with you on my back? It will save you some spiritual power. Zuyun's face suddenly turned cold, and he uttered a word, get lost. Okay. Feng Anhe rolled out quickly. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 698. The two of them continued on their way. Along the way, he was thinking about another problem, which was the Silver Sword Demon Sect. According to the route on the map, Silver Sword Demon Sect is also a must-go place. Perhaps, this is also the reason why Luo Yanran has a good relationship with the Yinjian sect master in the Yao realm. Of course, all this changed after Luo Yanran's golden elixir took away his body. Later, all the elixir-forming stages of the Silver Sword sect were killed by Zuyun. At this moment, I remembered that Luo Yanran and the people from the Silver Sword sect should have come back to help Yusha realm. However, in the battle outside Demon Moon Forest, it was not their turn to play. Let's take it one step at a time. I don't know if the Silver Sword Demon sect has any special method to know that I did something good. Zuyun secretly kept it in mind and paid more attention. After a few days, they left the wilderness and came to a huge city. Yologo City. Above the city gate, there are 3 sinister characters written in it. Zuyun just glanced at it and almost fell into it. It was only thanks to his determination that he didn't do this. Fellow Taoist, when you get to Yologo City, don't look around. You don't have any demonic energy on your body. Are you from outside? At this time, a demon cultivator suddenly appeared beside Zuyun and said lightly. Thanks for the reminder. Zuyun clasped his hands in a gesture, and then walked towards the city with Feng Anhe. Yologo City is very big. Compared with the Yologo sect built on Yologo Mountain in Yazhu, it is simply incomparable. That's enough room for hundreds of thousands of people. Feng Anhe also said seriously. I didn't expect that a city in Yusha realm could be of such scale. If we really fight with Peepa realm, the outcome may be uncertain. Zuyun couldn't help but sigh. When the 2 realms fight, the one competing is not the nascent soul, but the monks below the nascent soul. What we are fighting is a war of attrition. Fellow Taoist, you rushed to Yologo City just after the misunderstanding between the 2 realms was resolved. You are really brave. I wonder if you two are here for sightseeing, or do you want to buy this heavenly material and earthly treasure? The demon cultivator from before suddenly appeared beside Zuyun again. Zuyun was extremely surprised. What kind of movement technique was used by this demonic cultivator? Even if he didn't notice it, Feng Anhe, who was in the nascent soul stage, didn't even see it. We just took a casual look. The obstacles between the two realms have been removed and the misunderstanding has been eliminated. We want to broaden our horizons. Surprised, Zuyun casually found an excuse to agree. When he was on someone else's territory and didn't know anything, Zuyun naturally wouldn't cause trouble and was extremely polite in his words. Fellow Taoist, there are many monks from your people realm coming to Yoluo City. There are nascent souls, pill formation, and even young monks from the foundation establishment stage. But you are surprisingly unanimous, and you all use such reasons. The demonic cultivator shook his head, not knowing what he meant. Has anyone been here? Zuyun was stunned. Hearing what this demonic cultivator said, could it be possible that those cultivators who had fought before could still be so shameless? In fact, even the reason is the same as the one I used. Isn't this a coincidence? Of course, otherwise, how could I be so indifferent when I saw two righteous monks? As he said this, the demon cultivator also smiled. He's no longer surprised after seeing so much. Then I wonder what this fellow Taoist is doing when he comes forward. Zuyun simply said straight to the point. Nothing else, the demon cultivator said with a smile. We demon cultivators are also monks, and we also need to practice. And we in the Yasha realm don't have many spiritual stones. So I want to make some extra money. Having said this, the demon cultivator immediately noticed that Zuyun's eyes became a little wary, so he quickly explained, Fellow Taoist, please don't misunderstand me. I can be your guide. As long as I know everything about Yoluo City, there are so many words to say, and one day only requires. The demon cultivator stretched out a finger. 100 spirit stones. Zuyun asked. 100. The demon cultivator also screamed in shock, then quickly shook his head and said, it's too much, 10 yuan is enough. $10. Zuyun was also dumbfounded. Isn't this too cheap? Is it possible that the spiritual stones in the Yasha realm are really so scarce? Could it be that these demon sects set up branches in other realms just to earn spiritual stones? Zuyun couldn't help but think. Yes, 10 yuan is enough. 10 yuan will last us a long time. The demon cultivator was a little jealous, but after only struggling for a moment, he said with certainty. See wealth without rebelling. Zuyun nodded secretly in his heart and took a glance at these demonic cultivators. Sometimes, the minds of demon cultivators and others are indeed more upright than those of righteous cultivators. The price difference of 10 times can still make this magic cultivator stick to the price. I didn't know that most of the demon cultivators were like this, but this was the only one in front of me. With 10 spiritual stones, Zuyun could set up a 9-turn 9-yang formation, which was more than that. Simply, he took it out and handed it over, smiling, it's a deal, then I'll hire you to help me lead the way in Yoluo City. The demon cultivator smiled happily. I met many monks in the people realm before, all trying to test his price. But when he mentioned 10 spiritual stones, those people stopped to bargain. What's more, they even quoted 2 or 3 yuan. He was so angry that he said several times, I can cut the price, but not the price. But now, I finally received a generous guest. Fellow Taoist is so generous, I will definitely lead the way for you. The demon cultivator was extremely excited. He took the spirit stone and put it into his storage bag as if he had found a treasure. Then he introduced himself, Fellow Taoist, I am Wang Meng. He is from Yoluo City. His strength is in the early stage of Danji. I don't know what to call these two Taoist friends. Fellow Taoist Wang, Zuyun said with a faint smile, my surname is Zhu and his surname is Feng. It turns out to be fellow Taoist Zhu and fellow Taoist Feng. Please come with me. Wang Meng made an invitation gesture and led the two of them towards the city gate. There was a long queue at the gate of the city. Zuyun looked carefully and saw that many people were righteous monks in the people realm. There is no need to observe the aura on their bodies. Just because these people keep looking around, you can know that they are new to the world and look like bumpkins. At the same time, beside them, most of them were following the demon cultivators, whispering something. What a rare occasion. Feng and he couldn't help but sigh. Zuyun felt nothing. At most, he just witnessed the battle outside the Demon Moon Forest. But for Feng and he and Nangong Tingfeng had gone through so many disasters and swallowed so much bitterness. Even though they gave birth to a son, they had never seen each other for the second time in hundreds of years. I don't know how long this situation can last. Grand occasion. Zuyun turned his head without knowing why. Looking at the emotion on Feng and he's face, he understood in his heart. Maybe this way, he and Nangong Tingfeng might be together? However, these two are quite old, so I don't know if they are considered to have fallen in love at dusk. But on the other hand, this also shows that Feng and he is still different from ordinary Peeper Realm monks. Perhaps the bohemian look in Huayden Valley, even calling Musei a great beauty, was just an act. Yes, it's a grand occasion. Even if it's fake, I hope this fake thing can last longer. Feng and he sighed, and Wang Meng said with a smile, fellow Daoist Feng, as far as I know, as soon as the master of Yoluo demon sect came back, he announced something. In the future, righteous monks will be allowed to enter Yoluo city. Maybe this kind of the grand occasion can last for a long time. Oh! Zuyun and Feng and he both felt a little incredible. Has this become long-term? The two fellow Taoists don't know something, Wang Meng said as the three of them lined up. As far as I know, the master of the demon sect said that the obstacles in the two realms have been removed. In the future, monks from the Yasha realm may come over at any time. Instead of hiding it, let them in openly. Firstly, it can allow the shops in the city to earn more spiritual stones and strengthen the development of Yoluo city. Secondly, it can also save a lot of troubles before. The monks from the Yasha realm came over, but they all entered the city secretly. Once discovered, they would inevitably fight. Even if Yoluo city could suppress them and execute the righteous monks who had sneaked in, the people who were killed would be forever. It's like this, so this time, Yoluo city is open. As he spoke, Wang Meng pointed to the city gate and said, originally, there was no city fee for entering the city, but now, except for the monks from Yoluo city, all the people entering the city will be protected by Yoluo city regardless of their level or where they come from. Treat everyone equally. Feng and he said hurriedly, are other cities doing this too? Wang Meng shook his head and said, fellow Daoist Feng, you think too highly of me. It has only been a few hours. Even if I have the best information, it has only been a few hours. How can I know? Maybe, you can find out after you stay here for a few days before going to the next Silver Sword City. Zuyun's eyes flashed, and he had to say that this was good news for him. Perhaps in the future, monks from the two realms can really live in peace. In this way, they can communicate with each other and perhaps save a lot of fights. There are many elixirs in the Yasha realm, and there are many spiritual stones in the Peeper realm. With more resources for cultivation, who would risk their lives by killing people and seizing treasures? Under the leadership of Wang Meng, the two of them walked along the street, but they never thought that several demon cultivators suddenly stopped in front of them. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 699. Seeing this scene, Zuyun and Feng and he took 2 steps back in tacit understanding. Obviously, they had just arrived, and the eyes of these people were not on them. Then naturally they would find trouble with Wang Meng. Adong, I have guests here, don't make trouble. Wang Meng said loudly. Make trouble? It's only natural to pay back debts. Wang Meng, you owe us 20 spirit stones, and you have exceeded the payment by 1 day. According to the IOU written at that time, if you exceed the payment by 1 day, you will be fined half. Another person sneered. Wang Meng couldn't help but clench his fists, realizing that he was cheated, but soon loosened them. I will pay back the spirit stones, but I will be fined half. When did you write this sentence? From today on, Yoluo City is no longer the Yoluo City of the past. Fighting can't solve the problem. Whether it is written or not, you will know after looking at the IOU. One of them took out a piece of paper and unfolded it in front of Wang Meng. Suddenly, Wang Meng's face changed. Because he did see that sentence. You're cheating me. Wang Meng remained calm, knowing that once he started, everything would be over. At home, there was a sister who needed spirit stones to buy medicine to prolong her life. You can't say that. The man put away the IOU, stuffed it back into his arms, and said lightly, Wang Meng, you signed this, and you pressed your fingerprints, it can't be fake, right? You said that I took it to the city guard, and your house should be sold. Today, we just came to remind you that you have exceeded the deadline, and it will be enough to pay 30 spirit stones today. But tomorrow, it will be 45 spirit stones. This interest is compounded, it's simply scary. Zuyun couldn't help but smack his lips. You should know that this kind of thing will never happen in Peeper Realm. Unexpectedly, I learned a lot in Yusha Realm. Okay, 30 is 30, Wang Meng, admit defeat. Wang Meng's tone became more and more gloomy, but under the current situation, he had no choice but to accept it. He took out the 10 spiritual stones Zuyun had given him not long ago and handed them over directly, pay back 10 first, and I still owe you 20. As for the remaining 20, as long as I pay you back today, I won't add more, right? Of course, the man took the spiritual stones and threw them behind him casually. The two people beside him quickly took them. He then said, we always convince people with reason. Today I still owe 20. If you can pay, I will return this IOU to you. If you can't pay, then tomorrow I will add half of the 20 spiritual stones, which will be 30 spiritual stones again. Can I say that you are quite reasonable? Wang Meng said sarcastically. He, a gentleman loves money and gets it in a proper way. We do things according to the rules. After that, the 3 demon cultivators left. However, they didn't leave for too long. Instead, they took a few casual glances on the street and caught another person. It seems that they are also collecting debts. I'm sorry to have embarrassed you two deists. In front of Zuyun and Feng and he, Wang Meng's toughness finally disappeared, his face was full of bitterness, and he even spoke with a crying voice. Zuyun was surprised and asked, why, there are still loan sharks in Yoluo City. Deist Zu, we don't have spiritual veins in Yusha Realm, and spiritual stones are in short supply. Sometimes when we need spiritual stones urgently, we can only go to them. I borrowed 20 spiritual stones from them a month ago, and the interest was only 2 yuan at that time. I didn't expect that they used some method to turn it into 10. Wang Meng rubbed his face hard and forced a smile. Forget it, let's not talk about this, two deists, I will take you around Yoluo City, if you have any questions, just ask me. Zuyun asked, then can you raise 20 spiritual stones today? They are powerful, and it is said that they have a relationship with the people in Yoluo sect, otherwise how could they do such evil? No, there is no way. When you are under someone's roof, you have to bow your head. If I am alone, the worst that can happen is that I will not pay back the money and sneak out of Yoluo City. Yusha Realm is so big, how can there be no place for me? But there is no way. I still have a little sister who has gone wrong in her cultivation and can only rely on spirit stones to buy medicine to prolong her life. If it really doesn't work, I will sell the heirloom. There are still many pawn shops in Yoluo City. Although my Wang family's heirloom is useless, it is old enough, at least 3,000 years old. I think it shouldn't be difficult to exchange it for 20 spirit stones, right? What heirloom? Zuyun smiled and said, if it is really 3,000 years old, why not sell it to me for 20 spirit stones? Fellow Daoist Zhu, what are you doing? Wang Men knew that Zuyun was helping him, and he couldn't help but feel happy. But how could he know that 20 spirit stones were just a drop in the bucket for Zuyun? He was not being kind. But he just wanted Wang Men to be a guide and do it for him. Nothing, you said the heirloom has been passed down for 3,000 years, even if it is an ordinary thing, it would probably be rotten, right? As long as you are willing to give it up, just give it to me. As he said that, he took out 20 spirit stones and stuffed them into his hands. Wang Men was grateful and his hands were shaking, while Zuyun just looked at him without saying anything. Until Wang Men calmed down, Zuyun pointed to the three people who were still in the center of the street and said with a smile, go and get the IOU back. Okay, fellow Taoist Zhu, please wait a moment. I will take you home and bring you the heirloom later. Wang Men walked over quickly and put one hand on Adong's shoulder. Hey, Wang Men, what's the matter? You look so fierce, why, do you want to hit me? Come on, hit me in the face. Adong slapped his face with disdain, signaling Wang Men to beat him. But Wang Men was very calm, looked at him coldly, and said, Adong, do you think I'm the same as others? You want to provoke me, so you can blackmail me. Wang Men knew Adong, he was just a rogue. As long as he dared to make a move, Adong dared to blackmail his ancestral home. Then he would go to the brothel to listen to music the next day. Ha ha ha, Wang Men, you are not stupid. Adong also laughed, then snorted coldly, and said, if you have something to say it quickly, if you have to fart quickly. I have dozens of spirit stones for a stick of incense, I don't have time to talk nonsense with you here. Wang Men was also unambiguous, took out the 20 spirit stones given by Zuyun from his arms, and said, bring the IOU, I will pay you back. Adong and the other two were slightly stunned, but soon realized that it must be the two guests he brought who helped. But they put a lot of thought into it, and they wanted a long-term relationship, and then let Wang Men be overwhelmed, and finally take his ancestral home. How could they care about the interest of these 10 spiritual stones? But it was written in black and white, and Adong had no way to deal with it. Just as Wang Men knew him, he also knew Wang Men very well. If a lawsuit was filed to the city guard, he, Adong, would be in trouble. What kind of operation is this to pay back the money but not want it? Such an abnormal thing, no one will dare to borrow spiritual stones from them in the future. Adong, with a gloomy face, took out the IOU, threw it on the ground, took the spiritual stone and turned away. Wang Men didn't care, picked up the IOU, took a closer look, and after there was no problem, he ate it directly into his stomach. Then he ran back to Zuyun. He bowed in the street, and Zuyun didn't react. Not far away, a man whispered to Adong, Brother Dong, you guessed right, it was that outsider who did it. The cultivators in Peeper Realm are so rich. Adong narrowed his eyes and said, how about we do something? Another man hurriedly said, Brother Dong, the city lord ordered that we can't conflict with others. Now we are in the limelight, if we move, I'm afraid that person can't protect us. Do you think I don't know? Adong glared at him and said, why did that person let Wang Shu get hurt? Isn't it because he wants his heirloom? Such a big plan was set up, but it was messed up by two outsiders. In my opinion, this matter can only be reported to that person, and he will deal with it. Then we can drink some soup and get some spirit stones. Brother Dong is wise. The two people flattered him and smiled. But Adong frowned, obviously thinking about how to say it. On this side, Wang Meng insisted that Zhu Yun go get the heirloom first, saying that he would pay for the goods in exchange for the money. Otherwise, he would feel uneasy and would not be able to serve as a good guide. In desperation, Zhu Yun and the others followed Wang Meng and turned to the south of Yaluo City. The farther they were from the main road, the more dilapidated they looked. After walking for an hour, they finally stopped in front of a thatched house. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 700. Please wait a moment, please. My little sister has something on her mind and doesn't want to see strangers. Please forgive me. Wang Meng said apologetically, and Zhu Yun expressed his understanding. Originally, he had no intention of going in. As soon as Wang Meng opened the door and entered the house, a sickly voice came from the house, which was very weak. Zhu Yun didn't listen deliberately, but he couldn't hear clearly. But soon, Wang Meng came out with a kettle in his hand and handed it to Zhu Yun respectfully. Best wishes, fellow Taoist, this is our family's heirloom. Zhu Yun took it with a smile and looked at it carefully, but unexpectedly, his chest suddenly shook violently. Suddenly, his smile froze. There are fragments of Diwu glass mirror. Good stuff, I want it. In order to prevent the two of them from seeing anything strange, Zhu Yun stuffed it directly into the storage ring without saying a word, and then he returned to normal. Many fragments have been fused, but the vibration in the chest is different every time. Zhu Yun still doesn't know why. Like this kettle, he only felt it after he took over it. Well, fellow Taoist Zhu, aren't you afraid that I will fool you? Seeing Zhu Yun being so straightforward, Wang Meng was a little puzzled, and he was even more certain that Zhu Yun's 20 spirit stones were just to help him. Are you going to fool me? Zhu Yun responded with a smile, but unexpectedly, at this time, a delicate figure stood at the door holding the doorframe. Brother, why did you sell the heirloom of our Wang family? It's Wang Meng's sister, Wang Shu. This. Wang Meng's face rose slightly, and he turned around and whispered, Little sister, the family is really short of spiritual stones, and I don't have much ability, so I can only do this. Brother. Wang Shu took 3 breaths in one step and stepped forward. Zhu Yun could feel that the aura on her body was very disordered. Indeed, as Wang Meng said, something went wrong in her practice. Walking in front of Wang Meng, Wang Shu said, My illness will never be cured. How long can I live? But if this family heirloom is sold, how will we explain it to the elders of the clan in the future? The voice was slightly reproachful, but Wang Meng did not dare to look directly into Wang Shu's eyes and lowered his head. Wang Shu turned his head, looked at Zhu Yun and said, Fellow Taoist, how many spiritual stones has my brother collected? We can return the spiritual stones to you. We will not sell this family heirloom, please forgive me. If it had been before, Zhu Yun would definitely return it. But now that I knew there were fragments of the Diwu glazed mirror in it, it was naturally impossible. He shook his head resolutely and said, Sister Wang, integrity is important in transactions. This family heirloom has been negotiated with Daoist Wang and I for a long time. If you feel that the price is not suitable, you can open it again. Zhu Yun was willing to exchange for a fragment, let alone 20 spiritual stones, or 200,000 spiritual stones. The spiritual stone is a bastard, if you lose it, I will make more money. Wang Meng also said anxiously, Little sister, I have lost the spiritual stone. I can't get it out, so I gave it to fellow Taoist Zhu. The spiritual stone I bought for you last month was borrowed from a dong. Fellow Taoist Zhu gave it to me first. The spiritual stone paid off the debt, so. You asked a dong to borrow the spirit stone? He is famous for his black heart. Wang Shu stared and said, Brother, I told you a long time ago that my injury cannot be cured, so why do you have to suffer? Little sister, Wang Meng knew that he was in the wrong and began to cry a little, You are my only relative. Of course I want you to live as long as you can. As long as people live, there is hope. Besides, you are the most promising genius of our Wang family. Genius. Hearing these two words, Wang Shu's eyes dimmed, and his voice became much softer. If he were a genius, how could something go wrong during his cultivation? Little sister, the road to immortality is inherently bumpy. You can't just accept your fate. Only after going through wind and rain can you see the rainbow. My elder brother is a useless person. After all, he only has the period of forming an elixir in his life. But you are different. You can cultivate to UN infancy, and then fight for the qualification to go to the spirit world. Stop talking. Wang Shu suddenly screamed, so what if I go to the spirit world? This sound made the three people present stunned. Even Zuyun was puzzled. Does Wang Shu not want to go to the spirit world? But as a monk, 9 times out of 10, he wants to go one step further. As a monk in the mortal world, if he wants to continue practicing, the only way to go is the spiritual world. You keep saying that I am your only relative, you are willing to do anything for me, and you are not willing to leave me anywhere. Could it be that I, Wang Shu, can go to the spirit world alone and abandon you in Yoluo City? Are you being bullied by others? These words made Wang Meng speechless. After a long while, Wang Menke said, "Little sister, you are a genius and the hope of the Wang family, as it should be. Allowing you to go to the spiritual world is the goal of my elder brother's training. I thought that you would become an inner disciple of the Yoluo demon sect. But I didn't expect that this kind of thing would happen. Is it really the will of God? The way of heaven?" Wang Shu sneered and said with disdain, "They say monks go against heaven. In my opinion, heaven is easy to go against, but what about humans? People?" Wang Meng didn't know why, but Zhu Yun's eyebrows jumped. Sure enough, the next moment, Wang Shu made a shocking statement. "I was framed by fellow disciples of Yoluo sect." As soon as these words came out, even Feng Anhe's eyes widened in disbelief. He has been with Nangong Tingfeng for a long time, so he naturally knows more about the world of people in Yusha realm. But it is rare to hear about the killings between fellow disciples. At least, compared with the Peepa realm, this kind of thing rarely happens. Not to mention, there will be other disciples who harm the geniuses in the sect. From Wang Meng's words, we know that Wang Shu is an inner disciple. In the Yusha realm, inner disciples are equivalent to core disciples. Even if they reach a bottleneck in their cultivation in the future and cannot make any further progress, they can at least become elders. But such a disciple was framed and his life and death were in danger. Why didn't you say it earlier? Who is it? Who is it? Wang Meng's eyes were red and he roared. Who is it? Even I dare to frame him. There are not many people in the Yoluo demon sect. Wang Shu looked at Zuyun with tears in his eyes and said, "My fellow Taoist, did my brother sell the heirloom for 20 spirit stones? Can you give me some time? I will go and ask for 20 spirit stones." Ask. Zuyun frowned. Even if he didn't want to return it, his heart couldn't help but tremble when he heard this word. Where can she go to ask? Yoluo demon sect. But a pastime genius, staying in this shabby thatched house waiting to die, will the Yoluo demon sect still take her seriously? In his opinion, if there is still some value in her, the Yoluo demon sect will not do such a thing. 20 spirit stones, this is obviously a huge sum of money in Yusha realm and Yoluo city. Of course, Zuyun is not short of spirit stones. What he wants is to stop Wang Shu from taking back the heirloom. "Sister Wang, I like this heirloom very much, it's not a matter of spirit stones," Zuyun refused softly, saying, "I also said before, if you think I gave too little, you can name the price." Daiu. Wang Shu raised his voice, but Zuyun waved his hand and continued, "However, maybe I will lose interest in a few days, and I can naturally return the original item. Of course, I can't guarantee this. This can be said to be the best result. After all, Zuyun didn't know how the fragment was hidden in the kettle. If it was just stuffed inside, Zuyun only needed to take out the fragments. But if it was integrated, then he had no choice. So he didn't say it to the end. And Wang Shu obviously knew that he could only do this. After saying all the good things, what could she do? She couldn't beat him, not to mention that Yaluo City had already banned fighting. Then Wang Shu, I can only thank this Taoist friend first. She bowed slightly, then stepped back, turned to Wang Meng and said, Brother, since the two Taoist friends are here, why don't you invite them in to sit down? The atmosphere suddenly became relaxed, and Wang Meng also hurriedly said, Yes, yes, isn't it because I'm afraid that inviting them in will scare you? Wang Shu smiled and said, Brother, I'm not a 3-year-old girl, and I'm not a shy person. You're too cautious. After that, she reluctantly made a gesture of invitation, motioning Zhu Feng and Feng Anhe to come in. The two looked at each other and were not polite. For Zhu Yun, since Wang Shu came from the Yaluo demon sect, it might be easier for him to find out about Luo Yan Ran. Old Feng, go in and take a rest. Feng Anhe had no objection and followed Zhu Yun into the house. Wang Meng muttered, My two Taoist friends, my family is too poor, please don't despise me. Warm ti.